The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. Breaking news from overnight. One person was taken to the hospital after being shot in northeast Bakersfield. The Kern County Sheriff's Office says they got a call for shots being fired in the area of North Inyo and Irene Streets just before 2:45 a.m. Deputies arrived to find a man lying in the road. No further information has been released.
Making news around the state this morning, and a suspect in a deadly church shooting in Southern California has now been identified. 68-year-old David Chow of Las Vegas has been booked on 1 felony count of murder and 5 felony counts of attempted murder. 1 person was killed and 5 wounded, 4 of them critically. Officials paid tribute yesterday to the doctor and father of 2 killed trying to stop the attack.
Dr. Chang charged the individual, the suspect, attempted to disarm him, which allowed other parishioners to then intercede, taking the suspect into custody. Without the actions of Dr. Chang, it is no doubt that there will be numerous additional victims in this crime.
The shooting happened during a lunch reception to celebrate the return of a pastor who was on a mission trip in Taiwan at the Geneva Presbyterian Church. The Orange County Sheriff says Chow was allegedly upset with political tensions between China and Taiwan. A federal hate crimes investigation into the shooting has been launched by the FBI.
Your time now is 5:03 and making news around the nation. In Buffalo, New York, the painstaking search for evidence continues at the scene of that horrific grocery store massacre that took place over the weekend.
We want to take you live to the White House this morning, where President Biden will leave today to head to Buffalo. The White House says he and the First Lady will offer their condolences to the families of the 10 people killed. NBC's Chris Pallone has the very latest from Washington.
Alex and Maddie, good morning. President Biden arrives in a city today still reeling from shock and grief as the family members of the 10 victims prepare to bury their loved ones. Investigators now are revealing more information about what they've learned about the planning for this attack. In Buffalo, a memorial to the 10 people killed in Saturday's massacre is growing outside the store where it happened. While just steps away, local and federal agents continue their search for evidence. Prosecutors are building a murder case against 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, the accused gunman who they say drove 200 miles to Buffalo specifically to kill black people.
It appears that, he had hatred in his heart long before he traveled to Buffalo.
Now, a grieving community is pausing to remember 10 people whose lives were cut short.
An 86-year-old mother and grandmother, a man in the supermarket just buying cupcakes.
The distraught family of Ruth Whitfield, a beloved mother and grandmother, called for people who radicalize white supremacists to be held accountable.
Took away my mother and my best friend. How dare you? How dare you? This needs to be fixed.
Investigators now believe the accused gunman planned to leave the market to find more victims before police confronted and captured him. They also say it appears before the massacre he visited Buffalo earlier than first thought.
Information has also come as a result of some of this investigation that the individual was here a few months ago, back in early March.
A senior law enforcement official tells NBC News the accused gunman's parents are in shock and are cooperating with the investigation. The source adds the parents claim they had no idea their son was planning any sort of violence. The accused gunman in this case is due back in court on Thursday. His attorneys had originally asked that he undergo a mental health evaluation, but yesterday they waived that request. In Buffalo, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
5:06 is our time now, and new developments in the nationwide baby formula shortage.
Abbott Nutrition, the largest infant formula manufacturer in the U.S., reached a deal with the Food and Drug Administration to reopen its Michigan plant under specific conditions. NBC's Bree Jackson reports.
Good morning, Alex, Maddie. Once the FDA and a federal court give Abbott the green light, it would take 2 weeks to reopen that Michigan facility and another 6 to 8 weeks to get that formula on shelves. A promising sign for families searching for baby formula. Abbott and FDA regulators reaching an agreement to reopen its Michigan manufacturing plant. Under the deal, Abbott must retain an independent expert to review the facility's operations and ensure that it follows the law. Abbott's CEO saying, "We know millions of parents and caregivers depend on us, and we're deeply sorry that our voluntary recall worsened the nationwide formula shortage." To help increase supplies, the FDA is easing restrictions on global manufacturers.
Importing or bringing to bear product that was intended for other countries.
In addition, the Biden administration is working with major U.S. producers to identify logistical hurdles.
This is principally an issue of production more than goods movement, but anytime we see an indication that goods movement is becoming a limiting factor, we'll do anything we can to tear down obstacles.
The shortage is hitting low-income families especially hard. It's estimated up to 68% of all infant formula sold in the U.S. is purchased through government assistance from the Women, Infants, and Children program, WIC.
We always issue the formula thinking, I really hope this participant can find some formula.
It could be 2 months or longer before product from the Abbott plant fills empty shelves. For now, parents faced with uncertainty about feeding their little ones are turning to food banks and online searches to fill immediate needs. The Abbott plant has been closed since February over bacteria possibly linked to infant illnesses. The company says there has been no conclusive evidence linking that formula to those sicknesses. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for 17 News.
Your time now is 5:31. Officials are investigating the drowning death of a 5-year-old boy. Oliver Michael Shine of Las Vegas was found unresponsive in a pool here in Bakersfield on Penzance Drive on Saturday around 1 p.m. He was taken to Bakersfield Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead that evening.
May is Water Safety Month, and Kern public health advocates want parents and caregivers to know about their Water Watchers program and basic water safety tips. Kern County Water Watchers report about 5 drownings every year here in Kern County. 3/4 of those drownings involved a child under 2 years old, and over half of them happened in a pool. They report more than 80% of the incidents took place due to a lack of supervision. Now, here are some tips to keep kids safe. Keep pool gates locked at all times when not supervising the water. Always keep an eye on children, even if they know how to swim. Designate an adult as a water watcher who avoids all distractions like cell phones and alcohol, and you can rotate that person every 10 minutes to stay alert and vigilant. Learn how to perform CPR.
17 Homicide Tracker now. We now know the name of a man who was shot and killed last week in East Bakersfield. Deputies were called to a report of a crash near Niles Street and Pesante Road. There, they found the victim, identified as 29-year-old Eduardo Moreno, unconscious in a car with a gunshot wound. He died. If you know anything about his death, you're urged to call the sheriff's office at 861-3110.
Now to one of our signature issues here on 17 News, Kern's sober reality. And we now know the name of a man killed in a suspected DUI crash last week in South Bakersfield. Police say they were trying to pull over a BMW driving recklessly in the area of South 8th Street and Plans Road Friday morning, but they lost sight of the vehicle. Police later found that car had crashed into a Toyota Camry at White Lane and Hughes Lane. The man in that Camry, now identified as 39-year-old David Cortez of Wasco, died. The driver of the BMW, 25-year-old Christian Valencia of Arvin, was taken to the hospital. Police say Valencia was under the influence of alcohol and a suspected controlled substance.
17 Court Watch now. A stolen watch and quick thinking led to the arrest of a notorious Bakersfield sex offender. According to court documents, a woman was walking along a busy stretch of Ming Avenue back on May 2nd when a man appeared from behind an electrical transformer and tried to sexually assault her. Documents say the woman fought back as the man stole her wedding ring and Apple Watch. She managed to break free, and the man left on a bike. Using her cell phone to track the Apple Watch, police came across Sergio Venegas riding a bike on South Rail Road near Sampson Court a short time later. Police say Venegas was handcuffed, and the Apple Watch and ring, along with a knife, were found in his pockets. Labeled the supermarket rapist, Venegas was suspected in 5 rapes that happened in the 1980s. He was on parole at the time of his most recent arrest after serving decades in prison for one of those rapes. Venegas is due back in court today.
Amber Heard returned to the witness stand yesterday in the Johnny Depp libel case. The actress claimed Depp was violent and hallucinated during their relationship. Hurd told the jurors she was physically and sexually abused on multiple occasions before and during her brief marriage to Depp.
He was talking to people who weren't there, meaning people who were not in the room. He was communicating with people and sounds and voices that weren't there. I know because I was sometimes in the room and sometimes on the phone with him.
The high-profile trial resumed after a one-week hiatus to accommodate a judicial conference. Jurors have already heard 4 weeks of testimony. Depp has already testified and denied he ever hit Hurd.
Meantime, former MMA star Kane Velasquez has been denied bail for the second time in his attempted murder case. The judge decided against allowing bail, citing a reckless disregard for human life. Velasquez is accused of shooting a man who's accused of molesting Velasquez's young relative. Velasquez could face more than 20 years in prison if convicted.
In your 17 Crime Watch, a man and woman are under arrest following the discovery of drugs and weapons at their home. This is what Kern County probation officers say they found at the home in the 300 block of Arvin Street in Bakersfield last Thursday. A 12-gauge shotgun, 38 special revolver, live ammunition, suspected methamphetamine, and other weapons. 22-year-old Anthony Bishop, who is on post-release community supervision, was arrested along with 34-year-old Chandra Jeffries, who is on mandatory supervision probation.
And now to the coronavirus. You can get more free at-home COVID-19 tests. The government first started offering the free tests in January. They announced a second round available to be shipped out in March, and now a third round of free at-home tests are available to order. Every home in the U.S. is eligible. You can order yours online at covid.gov.
In your 17 Health Watch this morning, and a new study finds working from home could cause lingering effects on your health. The report from the Well-Being Index finds 1/5 of those working from home exercise less and a third eat more. The findings also reveal half of those working from home have not visited the doctor or a dentist in the past year. 15% of people working from home also say they are drinking more alcohol. The study finds that despite restrictions ending, many people are still struggling to stay active and eat well.
And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This Thursday, the local chapter of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is hosting a free resource fair. It's open to the public 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thursday at the Tower. That's at 1200 Truxton Avenue, Suite 100. And we have a full list of events for Mental Health Awareness Month on our website, kget.com. Just click the hot link icon.
Well, from our 17 follow-up file, this week, demolition crews contracted by Union Pacific Railroad will begin removing an auxiliary building and antennas near and around the historic Sumner Rail Station property in Old Town Kern. The depot itself will not be demolished and remains leased to the city. The demolition work is expected to begin early this week and will take 2 to 4 weeks to complete. The city of Bakersfield said in a news release it remains committed to retaining its connection to our history and that the removal of the buildings and equipment will benefit the Sumner Rail Station.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.